What is up, Pal Fam, and welcome to day 34 of Countdown to FIDE 100. My name is Paul Emmanuel Habaradas, aka Paul POW, and in 1957, Mikhail Tal proves to everyone that he can still be he is still being good at chess. I don't know what I'm saying, but I don't have a script anyway. I'm just like reading it out. So in the game between Mikhail Tal and Alexander Koblents, it took them 37 moves to determine who will win. I don't want to spoil who won, if it's Mikhail Tal or Alexander Koblents. I think for Alexander Koblents' picture you see right now, I think I can find it just somewhere. I think it's a rare picture that I've seen, but who would have thought? So yeah, without further ado, let's find out the game. So Mikhail Tal opens with C4, E4 rather. Alexander goes with a Sicilian, and a knight F3, D6, D4, C takes, knight F6, knight C3, knight C6, bishop G5, E6, queen D2, bishop E7, queenside castle, kingside castle, knight B3, and queen B6. He has plans on queenside castle. I think the queenside castle, and then I wanted to go here and then probably defend the king here to safety, but the problem was the queen b6 right then and there. And I can say that the problem of castling queenside, I think it's this diagonal for white. Going back with castle queenside and castle kingside, there's knight b3, queen b6, f3, a6, g4, rook d8, and bishop e3. Okay, I feel it, but queen e3 could have been gone with queen c7. I think it should be fine. h4 was played in Jobava and Maghalashivi in 2008. I think he's on that game is like trying to attack this and then later on try to go for that. Oops, not g6. Going back to bishop e3, there's queen c7, h4. This time, in a Brodsky Kamentzanov, it's g5, this g5. So he has thought about this. According to the main line, it's a book move. But if I'm thinking about this, he can just like develop the bishop and probably like if he goes here and there's b5, b6 or b5 and then bishop b7, h4, b5, g5, knight d7, and Alexander mistaken with g6. I don't understand, but that was the problem. I think he didn't is just doing like losing a pawn or something, but yeah. If h5 would have been done, then b4, knight a4, knight c5, knight a takes c5, d takes c5, queen h2, rook check, king, and then white's position is in a slight advantage. The problem, the king is exposed. The king is exposed. That's the problem of castling queenside. That was the big con. And this pawn problem as well. However, on this, it's somewhere sort of like a bit safe for the king to castle. Yeah. Alexander made a mistake with g6. Also, Mikhail also made a mistake with h takes g6. If the other way out, h5, g takes, rook takes, knight ce5, knight d4, knight f6, rook g5, and b4, position goes equal. I think the good move is knight a4 and then probably like bishop. Wow. So with h takes g6, Mikhail Tal goes. Oh yeah, Mikhail Tal made a mistake with g6, and then Alexander also made a mistake with h takes g6. That's to clarify. I made a mistake. Mikhail Tal goes g6, earlier it was a mistake, and then h takes g6 is also a mistake for Alexander Koblents. h5 makes the position go equal, g takes h5, rook takes h5, and Alexander made a mistake with knight f6. That is crazy. If it's bishop h6, queen h2, g6, rook h7, not king f8, knight f8, rook h3, b4, knight a4, rook b8, and bishop c4. I think that could have been go well, but I think you can probably like here to threaten this. And what could have been done? I think with this knight a4 he plans on this. Back to bishop c4, and then I can say that if he goes back there, I think knight to defend this bishop. That's what I've thought as well. Going back to knight f6, there goes rook h1, so white's position goes better, and Alexander goes d5, another mistake. If b4 was executed, knight a4, rook b8, queen h2, king f8. Yes, he does queen f8 so that he's just like to not lose a game. Because if, let's just say like he made a mistake, let's say like, did you see that brown thing? That means it's gonna be checkmate. So f4 in the variation, knight g8, queen f2, bishop f6, and bishop b6. Wow. I don't know why he just like do bishop, but if he just like goes queen, and then it's bishop, and I can say rook e8, I think that could have been done. However, with a d5, Mikhail Tal also made a mistake with e5. Yeah, it's a bit of a problem, but if it's bishop f4 and then bishop d6 takes f4, knight g4, e5, queen c7, queen g2, and f5, white is definitely winning in the variation. I think it's gonna go, I think it's not recommended to do en passant for this position. So I think it's gonna be bishop e2, and then what else can we see? Oh, it could have done with b4 as well. Going back with e5, goes on to take, and then bishop f4 for Mikhail Tal, another mistake. You can also think of queen h2. Look at this, it's like you're disguising that you're just not doing something, but at the same time you can go for queen h8. So it's either, and I mean later on you can go for here. Let's just say if he goes bishop here and it's game over, so he has to reconsider. Maybe king f8, and then goes bishop here, let's say, and then you can like say bishop there, and then so on. With the bishop f4 mistake, Alexander had a slight advantage with bishop to d6, queen h2, king f8. Another one with Mikhail Tal goes queen h8 too early. Yeah, I know king h8, king f8 was the one to avoid getting mated, but doing this, it's too early because it's too obvious for white to for black to go either knight g8 or king e7. So instead, he has to make the king safe, like double checking in safety and all the stuff. King e7, queen g3, bishop d7, rook e1, knight g6, bishop, queen, and queen g5. Black's having a slight advantage in here, and it would have been safe to say right then and there. Rook h8 could do the next one, and then takes. Yeah. Back to queen h8. However, Alexander made a mistake with knight g8 instead of doing king e7. And if king e7, queen h4, knight takes, bishop, queen f2, knight e5, knight e5, not knight e4, knight e5, king b1, and bishop d7. Yeah, black's position is already winning. Nothing else to say. Let's let's just say like he goes to queen here to threaten this, and then maybe rook. Going back to knight g8. Then there goes rook h7, f5, bishop h6. Yeah, this bishop h6. If he takes it, you lose a queen. So rook d7, bishop takes, and Alexander's made a mistake with rook f7. I think that's a no-no. So probably knight g6. With that knight g6 move, he's about to lose the queen on the next move unless he can go like improvise. What could have been a good one? But let's find out in the variation. Knight g6, knight d4. Lost the queen anyway, but the good thing, he has done knight d4 in order, if he takes it as usual, he goes to check and then lose the queen. And then knight takes h8. As I said, knight takes, king f7, knight takes, rook takes. And then rook takes g7, and yeah, the position is equal, but if he goes on here and then, oh, snap. So instead, I think that's the only move, and then he cannot take it because it's check. So probably like gonna take it, and then I think it's gonna be a comfortable one. Going back to rook f7, Mikhail Tal's position is already winning with rook g1. Indeed, it was crazy, but wow. And then rook a7, and Mikhail Tal also made a mistake with knight d4. What is happening? I was thinking about bishop e8, sacrificing there. And if he goes to take it, rook. However, if it's bishop e8, rook e7, bishop h5, knight d4, knight e2, bishop e5, king b1, queen b6, rook g2, and queen f2. I'm confused. Why did you just like take the free queen? But yeah, here's for all our, like, for example, intermediate players, take in, especially when you're playing standard. I know I'm not a top player, but be absolutely careful. I know it's like there's still right there, but yeah, I know. But if it's, imagine this is a bishop, be absolutely careful. And then it goes this, even it's knight defended, so it's like rook g2, and then queen f2. White is winning, but I don't understand. Knight c4, knight e2, bishop e5, king b1, queen b6. Okay. What else? Back to knight g4, and then the position goes white in a better position. And then if it's knight g4, f takes, and then Alexander again mistaken with bishop e5. If it's bishop f4, king b1, bishop, g takes f5, queen h2. So now you know, threatening this. Knight f3, queen f4, bishop d3, and rook f6. Okay, that seems interesting to look at it right now, and yeah, white's position goes better. However, with this bishop e5 mistake by Alexander, Mikhail was also found on a mistake as well with knight c6. If knight f3, and then there goes bishop f6, and then g takes, and then a takes, knight h4, bishop takes, and rook takes g7, and white's position is gonna be winning. Now, I realized, back to the 25th move, Mikhail Tal sacrificed this bishop. That is absolutely crazy. And let's find out if it's a takes it before we go back. Yeah, there's nothing much, but I think he's gonna go knight d4. And then if he goes on to take it, and then lose the queen. Wow. I don't understand. No way. If he goes to take it, like, there's so many interesting stuff, but I'm not a top player, but let's go back to the 29th move, knight c6. Alexander also made a mistake with bishop takes c3. He can take that free one, and then knight takes e5 instead of this. It's knight takes e5, queen takes, rook f1, rook a d7, g and e, bishop d2, and white's position is better. Back to bishop takes c3. There's bishop e3, and white's position is winning. But it's after b takes f4, g5, queen b6, knight d4, queen d6, g6, rook f c7, bishop c6, and e5. I think it's a clever one for Mikhail Tal in this variation, but who would have thought? Yeah, I think it could be fine. Bishop e3, and then the d4, rook gh1, bishop, rook d7 rather, and Alexander, or Mikhail rather, goes a mistake with bishop g5. Wow. He can take the free pawn, and then queen g3, rook 7h3, queen d6, queen takes f, king takes f takes, and king takes e6. Okay, now I realize he just did the unthinkable of sacrificing that queen to goes to take it, takes, and what if knight, and it goes to what else? Rook, and probably the king, rook f. Oh, lose a queen on the next move. And maybe bishop first, king, and then lose a queen. That's interesting. Going back to bishop g5, there's a takes e5, and the position is equal. However, with rook 1 h6 and d3, Alexander is mistaken in the d3. If he goes to take it, and then rook f6, g takes, bishop h6, rook g7, bishop takes king e7, and bishop takes f6, it's a double check, and then goes to king, and then maybe you lose a rook. Yeah. So with this d3, I think it's a big blunder because from the position goes equal, now b takes c3, Mikhail Tal's game is winning. And d2, king d1, queen takes e6, rook f6, rook f7, and queen takes g7. It's over. Alexander resigned because if the game would have been continued, there's king e8, rook takes f7, queen to f3, king takes d2, queen g2, king c1, queen h1, king d2. And yes, it's gonna be mated in the next 9 moves. So this one is the final one. He cannot take it because it's check. So he can go either here or here. No. And if it goes like here, for example, he goes to take it. Or here. Let's see if it goes to take it and check. King here. And take the free rook. That's crazy. Okay. Well, that should be it in 1957 match between Mikhail Tal and Alexander Koblents. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe and become a patron member at patreon.com/PaulPower. Subscribe to my vlog channel, Pow Vlogs. Follow me on Twitch, X, TikTok. All of them are Paul Emmanuel, while the Instagram, TikTok, Instagram threads, and Facebook are Paul Power YT. And join the Discord community, and when you buy any plan on Chess Mood, don't forget to click the link in the description to get 20% off when you buy any plan. And I'll see you tomorrow at the countdown to FIDE 100 in the year 1958.